Hey everyone, in this episode we're off here. This is Friars Court CL on the banks of the River Thames in Oxfordshire. So come along and see what we got up to. Hi everyone, welcome back. We're on our way to CL, right on the banks of the River Thames in Radcott in Oxfordshire. It's part of Friars Court actually, and they have two CLs, one of which is called the Island, which as it said is on an island in the middle of the Thames, and then there's also another one called the Cricket Bat Field. That's about a quarter of a mile down a farm track. And the Cricket Bat Field is the one we're heading for because it's more sheltered, it's planted with lots and lots of trees, which for me and my anemic white skin, which goes a rather beetroot colour instantly as soon as the sun comes out, is absolutely perfect. The Cricket Bat Field though is pretty close to wild camping as it gets, I think, because it has a water tap and that's it, so it might not be for everyone. But anyway, follow along and see what you think, because we're certainly looking forward to it. So we've just come off the M40 onto the A40, and then we wound our way around the outskirts of Oxford on what's supposed to be the ring road through Headington, etc. And I did that because I thought it might be a simpler route, but actually I'm not convinced, because Headington was an absolute nightmare traffic wise, even though it's fairly early in the afternoon now. Tomorrow we're going to take a trip out to Wantage, so I'll show you what the route looks like back through Farringdon on our way back, in case you're coming up from the south and end up coming up the A420 or the 417 or something like that. Anyway, sit back, enjoy the ride. In a moment we're going to turn onto the B4449, that's Aston Road, which joins up with the A4095, which is the road that the site is actually on. But remember, just because it's an A road, it doesn't actually mean that it's a big decent road, just the main route from A to B. So there's Friars Court itself on our left, and so a bit further on should be the site. Should be just before a tiny little bridge, and we'll need to turn left to the site itself. And there we go. It's got a coded gate to get in, so give me a moment and I'll be back. And of course there are no strict arrival times and departure times, so the inevitable has happened, and just round that corner on the left a chap has stopped his caravan to empty his loo on the way home, because as I think I mentioned earlier, the loo emptying point is up here near the boatyard and the site is a quarter of a mile down the track. There is a short pull-in which looks like will just about fit, so let's see if we can do a bit of manoeuvring to be able to pass each other on this single track road.
No, because he's coming out.
Okay.
There we go. Nicely done.
Okay, good. Managed that, and it's a quarter of a mile down this track to the cricket bat field itself. Let's stop here because there are two parts to this site. A part just to our right, which is a lot more open, and then the wooded shady bit off to the left. That looks like the owner, so I'll go and say hello and then come back to you.
Mama, you've just been waved at. Pardon? You've just been waved at. That's not 5 people. Pardon? That's not 5 people. No, they're having a rally down the end there or something. Oh, was he? A group organisation, something or another. So there is actually 5 people that have booked.
Who knows? Let's decide whether we want the spot over there or the spot down the end there, right? That's what we need to decide.
Which one's closest to the river and more sheltered?
So this is a pitch anywhere sort of arrangement, but the owner Charles that I was just speaking to has suggested a really nice spot right on the riverside down at the bottom of the field. So we'll pull the caravan in and then just leave it out the way at the side and go and check it out on foot, so I can work out exactly where I want the van positioned and then pull it in there. So this is the cricket bat field. It's just a field, fairly long grass, but directly on the Thames, and some wonderful trees to give you a bit of shelter. This field can be used by organised groups or by rallies. I think they say they'll take up to 30 vans in here, but you do need to be really well self-sufficient because the only facilities here is a single water tap by the entrance gate.
Oh! What? No, the door's on my side.
Oh. You're doing it like you're in a regular caravan.
I've forgotten which one we're going to do it again.
And of course I've forgotten on which side the door is, so let's try that all again.
That was not the best use of our time.
Sweetheart, I'm trying to guide a caravan between the trees, so...
But on the plus side, although I made a right fool of myself, you'll be able to see the whole of the site. Okay, so we're pitched up on a lovely bend in the river, and we're sat here watching the sun go down. So for today, that's good night, and tomorrow we'll take you on a tour around the island part of the CL, where there are a couple more facilities back at the beginning of the site. The chemical loo point and the bins and so on are back towards the main road, and on the field named the Island CL. So let's go back there and check that out. So remember back to when we came in the main gate, through the coded gate itself. So here are the bins on your left as you come in. There's no recycling apparent, but there is plenty of space in the bins themselves. Looks like they've got a good supply here. And instead of turning left that you would do to go down to the cricket bat field, you actually turn right, and then you go over across this small bridge and you're on the Island CL itself. On the right's the chemical loo point, water rinsing for your cassette and fresh water. A point I did notice actually is that all the freshwater taps here have hoses on, which I'm sure someone thinks is very handy, and I'm sure it is handy, but do you trust the person that's before you not to have mistakenly rinsed their loo cassette or their grey water using that hose? Anyway, back to the tour itself. So the whole of the northern side of the island is permanent moorings for boaters, and Ye Olde Swan pub occupies the western side, although it is separated by water from this part of the island, so it's not crossable, though you certainly can hear and smell and so on. And caravan and motorhome club members can pitch on the southern side. The eastern end of the island is fairly rough ground, and I believe it gets quite boggy. Whilst we were here, I did notice that across the banks of the river, the pub seemed to run their own camping and teepee glamping field, and it may well have been a post-lockdown decompression thing, but it seemed really, really busy over there. From the reviews and a quick Google search, it does sound as if the pub is pretty active, runs the occasional mini festival and VW bus meets and so on. So if that's your kind of thing, then excellent, this could be a great location, but if not, and you're after glorious solitude, then I advise heading down to the far end of the Island CL, or in fact booking into the cricket bat field for more splendid isolation. Having said that though, actually the first night we were here, that's last night, there was a large group of families pitched together at the end of the cricket bat field, so technically next to us, even though we were reasonably separated by space. So at midnight I was still hearing loud and clear what one of their neighbours, Janice, had been up to. Anyway, I won't repeat it. So the next evening, a group of older teenage lads turned up on the opposite riverbank to celebrate a birthday. So maybe it's not complete solitude there either. Now, having said that, the lads were quieter than the group of families, and when a couple of choice words came out, and I nicely, friendly reminded them that there were kids on the opposite bank, but wished them happy birthday at the same time, they were all terribly apologetic, and they were well controlled. So lads clearly did better than the group of families pitched up next to us. Anyway, so that's it. It's a very simple pair of sites. Hopefully our footage has given you a taster for the different character of each field. It was just me and the youngest on this trip, and we spent most of our time on the water kayaking and cooking and having a campfire. So in the next episode we'll take you on a tour of the river from the seat of a kayak. But for today I'll close with the footage of arriving from the south, because there's an absolutely killer narrow humpback bridge which you have to cross. So watch on please, and whilst you're doing so, do me a favour and press those subscribe and those thumbs up buttons. But thanks for tuning in, and bye for now. access from the south, so either the A417 from Wantage or the 420 up from Swindon and the M4 and so on isn't the easiest, as we saw through Farringdon itself, but now coming up is something even scarier for the wide of outfit. So let's have a see. And if you're 8 metres long and 8 foot wide, or have a considerable tail swing, you really want to pay attention to the middle of these single lane humpback bridges. That's the middle of the 3. That's the one with the gouges down both sides of the sidewalls that turns the corner at the same time as going over the humpback bridge. So enjoy.